let's talk about some myth. Myth. So, first, welcome back to another solo episode of Sculpted Through the Darkness. This is actually my first solo episode where I will also be recording myself. And I haven't actually sat and recorded a longer form video like this since I was um, coming into some completion with Womb of Creation. And so it feels kind of cool to be sitting in front of a camera again while I do this, while I say things into the microphone. um, so today I want to talk about myth. And when we hear the word myth, maybe you've seen some posts and it's like myth busting or bringing the reality to the myth. Um, yes, so myth does have its place in what can only be imaginal. But the thing about myth as well is that myth is also reality. Myth, we're living in a myth right now. So myth can also be reality. It can also be truth. We've just been, I want to use the word conditioned, but really this is so much deeper than just some conditioning. I'm talking centuries upon centuries upon centuries of humans being disassociated and disconnected from the power of myth. And this is not a coincidence, since myth in and of itself is something that quite literally controls a lot of society. So it's not a coincidence that our connection to myth has been distorted to put myth into power in a way where the power of it is siphoned to control rather than the actual creative freedom and sovereignty and knowing that comes through in our direct participation with myth. So, humans are inherently mythic creatures. It's really, everybody has the question of like, what does it even mean to be a human? A lot of us have woken up over these past several years to a lot of the bullshit. But even in that, there's still this this floating question of what are we doing here? Why are we here on this planet, on this earth, especially during such a massive time for beauty and revolution and rebirth? And to that I say, this energy that I've been leaning into in this communion with myth in a way where it's actually creating true revelation. And when I say revelation, I best I can always do is not think that I know what a revelation is and you don't. But in my own words, what a revelation is just this ongoing realization and actualization and digestion that happens in this system. So a revelation isn't just like something where you get a really cool idea or whatever. It's something that there's a plane coming. It's something that actually happens in the system in a way where it's truly being digested and metabolized and landing in those lower energy centers very specifically before it really can be stable and true and needs to actually land. And this isn't something that always happens overnight, but revelation is always happening. It's just more so, where is our body in direct reference to the revelation that's happening. So if I'm having like a really massive revelation, but my body doesn't have the capacity to really be with it, I might make the mistake of rushing myself. And so the ways that I've come to really experience revelation is that it's actually landing in my reality, where I am taking the space to really experiment with it and experience it, and see that truth unfold in my reality, flower in my reality. So, communing with myth allows this to take place. Myth is something where we're reading a storyline, we're studying, and we're coming into um, direct contact with the storyline, but we're not just looking at the character as something that we're just reading about. We're able to put ourselves in the storyline with the character in a way where our story, our sovereign story, our personal story is starting to come into a revelation, in the sense of like, whoa, this is something that's actually happening in my psyche. And personally, in my work, I pair myth with body work, with our biology. So that way we're truly communing with our body when we're communing with the myth. And an example is right now in my container, we are communing with a myth called the Descent of Inanna. And it's basically of a dark goddess who descends into the underworld. And as she's descending into the underworld, she doesn't know it yet, but she's about to enter 7 gates. And at each gate, she has to remove some things, and basically come into this humility and this humbleness as she's, bowing her head low and she's entering the underworld. So we are able to, especially as we descend into the winter, we are able to commune with this in a way where it's like, whoa, okay, how am I entering these gates slowly and gradually, and really communing with what's unfolding in my reality? And it's really mystical, and it's beautiful, and it's precise, and it's complex, but it also puts us in a place where we can just exist simply, um, existing simply, and just being able to experience the simplicity and beauty of life is also complex and precise, and it takes devotion. Um, so myth, really, it's fun, and it allows us to just come back into a grounded, stable place while we are experiencing the magic unfold in our reality. So I already had some things written down that I shared with some of the ladies in the container. And I wanted to share here how this is able to really just bring us into a different shape. Because when we're communing with our body, we're communing with our cellular architecture, with our anatomy, in a way where when we're pairing it with the story, we're actually seeing change, and seeing life flower without feeling like we're continuously stuck in loops or in patterns or on a healing hamster wheel, or feeling like we just completely give our power away. We start to, well, I'll just start with this one. Myths are stories of power. So, in this myth of Inanna descending into the underworld, for example, she is on a journey to reclaim an aspect of her power that has been lost in the underworld. Again, I've been communing with this story on and off for a couple years, so I know that that's what happens in her story. But when you put yourself into Inanna's journey, which is just so great to do as we descended into winter, you start to see from her perspective, and you're like, oh, I actually have no idea what I'm about to come across. I'm coming into this deepened relationship with the mystery and the unknown, but I have a stable, centered place within it all. And so myths Communing with the storyline and myths allows us to reclaim this aspect of power that is always there and sentient and alive, so alive, but it's just been um, just shoved down in the psyche. But again, this isn't about analyzing oneself. It's a true body based experience and metabolization that is happening and digestion. So the body is actually able to be here, truly here, and not just like lost in the sauce. Um, so myth reunites us with a dreamlike state. So humans, we are meant to. I made a post recently about how ordinary reality, when we actually exist in an ordinary reality, we're actually in a non-ordinary state. So if you've ever been in a psychedelic state before, or you've been in like shrooms, for example, something like that, where you feel like you're just so connected and you're so here and everything's so present and bright and vivid, that is a meant to be a natural experience. But we just, in our society, it's become a lost art, we can call it. Being mindful about my words, because yes, we could say repressed, but sometimes that can leave us on a journey of digging, and this isn't something we're digging for. Again, it's an experience that's happening. There's a difference. So myth reunites us with this state because we're working with the body in a mystical way. We're utilizing the art of feminine mystery and the art of myth and the art of touching the body. And if you're a woman, you innately, I mean, humans have this innate power to be experience things simultaneously. It's part of our genius, yet to be in this state where it feels more natural than something that has to be chased, or that we need like this we need an intermediary, or we need this like out there off planet god to make it happen. And yeah, again, that's a different conversation. But um yeah, it reunites us with this dreamlike state. um so our perception, our memory, and our imagination, which again is another lost art. We were so attuned for our imagination as children, and then we are told, hey, it's time to grow up. It's time to be an adult. Like, what does that even mean? What does that even mean? Um, so myth communing with the story allows us to have these perception shifts, and they play with our memory in a way where, like, let's say I'm communing with my body and my body has a memory from childhood that doesn't feel so good. Like a memory that I don't relive but could if I really wanted to is when I first got hit with the belt. The first time I was literally laid over my dad's lap and literally hit with the belt. That's a really, it's a punishable experience happening to the body, right? And that is something that is in my body's memory. And so when I commune with Inanna, for example, and I know that going into those places, going into the underworld, going into those lower parts of my body and communing with those places and allowing these memories to take a different shape. So that way I'm not going through my life bracing impact in a punishable offense for living my life in freedom. And I specifically got in trouble for not coming home right away and stopping at the store to get a Snickers. Okay, I was getting a Snickers, and I felt free. It was on the way home. It didn't feel like something that I instinctually that I had to like tell. Um, and but it was a punishable offense, right? Not in my perception, but in that perception, in my parents' perception, that was a punishable offense. And yeah, that can create, I mean, many things. I not long after this, I was hit by a car. So Anyways, okay. So the body has the body has it's such a cosmic play. The body just has this memory, and so when we're communing with the myth, we can touch different places in our psyche with our body and allow these pieces that want to brace for impact to take a different shape, where I am no longer existing in a state where being who I am at the deepest level is something that I might be punished for. So that's a really big one, and I know that that's something that, a lot of women in my field I have talked to about and have experienced. Like, can I just be myself and not get in trouble for it? And how deep that goes, and also how that is a control tactic. If someone fears getting in trouble, that's a control tactic. um, and it's our own disassociation from our sovereign body, right? No one can actually be blamed for that. But again, this is a century dance. So when we commune with myth, when I'm communing with Inanna descending into the underworld, I am also able to enter that gate. I'm able to enter that gate and commune with my body and allow her to take a different shape naturally, not forced. You can't force the body into a shape. Um, so this activates our imaginal power, right? It helps us with our memory and our perception, and then it activates our imaginal power to where this actually creates a different message to our DNA. So when we're coming into sovereignty, when we're reclaiming these aspects and yeah, just remembering who the fuck we are and what we've always been, we are literally creating a shift in our DNA in a way where it's remembering how powerful human DNA really is. It's not always something new, something new, something new. It's this nurturing into remembering. Um, so this can be regarded as when we're not actively and consciously and intentionally communing with the myth, and it's being used as a control tactic, which I will save for a different video, because I could go all up into the myth controlling our world. Um, and it can be regarded as an agency that's driving and directing human behavior at the biological level. So that's why part of what I teach is pairing the body work, the biology with the myth, because it's just fun. It's cool to have these revelations, but it also creates sustainability. So the messenger, the RNA messenger that is creating these messages is communing with our DNA and rewriting our DNA. But again, it's a remembrance that happens. It seems like things are new, but it's just like the way that it's always meant to be. It's the way that we always were meant to exist as. So it takes our active participation with our imagination, and daily and everyday life, just you start to have a more mystical experience with life, where yes, it's mystical, but not mystical in a way where it's like so spiritual. Like, it's like a natural human experience that's happening. And it's true contact with divinity, not just divinity that's like inside that you need to like dig into, but the divinity that exists all around us. The divinity that exists all around us in nature. Hmm. So this just the vision of this, and what it does is it brings us back into our creative nature, where creative freedom is always available. And yeah, instead of our body being forced into a shape, it's naturally coming into a shape. So a basic part, ancient, this isn't any new. Again, this is remembrance that happens. This isn't anything new. Ancient ancient Gnostics, I'm talking centuries before religion was even a thing, um, this was a part of their basic experience. in the process of actually being initiated through the mysteries is this direct participation and experimentation, an experience that happens when we become active in this process that's already, again, that's already being engaged. It's just, this is where, the blind sees again. We start to see from a different lens. So a basic part of coming into gnosis is our experience with our body at the most simple core, with the human animal, but also our direct engagement with myth. So yeah, that was a little talk on myth. Talk on myth. In the next few days, I am going to be announcing the Womb of Creation rebrand. So if you're not sure what Womb of Creation is, it was or it still is, she's just being rewritten. But she is a mystery school that was all about coming into tune with the phases of the menstrual cycle, and then from that place coming into an energetic place. So we're coming to the underlying energy rather than being hyper focused on the hormones, on um, being anal about the eating and all the things that come with like that whole realm of things of cycle tracking, um, and creating a relationship with the bleed from a place of true body-based mystical experience rather than hating our bleed or counting down the days or the not days or whatever, all the ways that it shows these days. But yeah, so Womb of Creation was that, and it was a bunch of videos like this, and I've just been experiencing a lot of self-correction through my direct participation that I just went on about. And self correction is also a big part of the Gnosis experience. And I've been experiencing that and coming into that. And so there's this just entire just shift that's happening. Um, and now, instead of pre recorded transmissions, we're going to be on a live journey together, a live pilgrimage for a year. So the doors close January 30th, 2026, and we will journey through the seasons together and be communing with myth together, specifically the myth of how our earth came into being, which is the narrative that could literally change it all. Um, so we're going to be communing with that and have live weekly calls and be in a mother mind. There's already 5 potent, creative, artistic, powerful, genius woman inside. And yeah, I'm praying that the doors get to close at 15 woman. So yeah, that announcement is happening. And with that, there's going to be more videos like this to, yeah, just share about the journey and what it's like and how we're going to be coming into revelation, deep, true, sustainable revelation, instead of these just the loops and the patterns. And we were talking about history. It's going to be education. It's going to be fun. It's going to be freedom. It's going to be devotion and ritual and ceremony. And the words hardly do it justice. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed. I love to hear feedback. So feel free to message me and commune. I am going to put the application for our immersion and pilgrimage below. And but yeah, aside from that, I would love to hear feedback, and I will see you on the next one.